You guys having a fun day?
Yeah.
New addition in the room? Bucky, what did you like about him?
What did I like about Bucky?
Yeah.
I think he's a young back that's versatile. He can play on all three downs. Sudden, good change of direction, and obviously can catch the ball out of the backfield, create big plays. That's the thing that probably excited me the most.
What allows him to be able to slow contact and keep it moving?
You know what? Some guys have that natural knack to where they run through contact, not to contact. And his ability to bounce off people was something that you noticed quite a bit when you watched him play. For a guy that's not real big, but I just think he's a guy that has a unique feel and doesn't really take a direct hit. You know, he'll take glancing blows, but not really too many, direct hits as he runs with the football or catches it out of the backfield.
How much of that is here and instinct, and how much of that is physical ability?
I think most of the physicality of anything we do in football is mental.
Is there a guy in the league that he reminds you of that plays similar?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of guys. I mean, because most guys have success when they get in space. Most guys do. But I think the difference is guys have to be able to create the space, and he has ability to do that. He's sneaky fast. He's a guy that can change directions, can cut on a dime. Seems like he has fairly good hands, but he's somewhat of a natural runner. So, I mean, it should be a lot of fun working with him. It should be a fun training camp to watch these guys compete and, showcase what they're capable of doing.
Where did you challenge Rashad to get better this offseason?
Pardon me?
Where did you challenge Rashad to get better in this offseason?
I would probably say the number one thing is that he's got to run with more physicality in the run game, more authority. He agreed, but he did a good job last year. I thought he had a pretty good season, but there's areas that he can improve, areas that everybody can improve. He obviously got better as the season went on, so, it was good to see that. But you talk about, young guys coming to the league, they obviously have an opportunity to play early, and then you have some success, but then, you're going to have downs too. But you got to find ways to fight through that and continue to work on your craft. I think you can't do it all at once. I think you got to kind of pick and choose one thing a day and try to master that and go to the next thing. And by the end of the week, hopefully you got it improved a little bit for that week. And we talk about that all the time, and I think he's continuing to do that.
Is that getting the hole quicker with him?
That's the most important thing. I would say you got to accelerate creases, no hesitation in the run game, run with violence.
Did you see an improvement from Rashad as the season went on in terms of being decisive and attacking those holes? Because I know he's a patient runner, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but, in terms of kind of just being that decisive runner.
No, I think he did. I thought he did get improved in that aspect. But I think early on, I think his style was a little bit different in his mindset of more hesitation and then hitting the hole. Where in this scheme that we have, it's more just set your track and hit the hole. So, the timing of the blocking as far as the timing with the back kind of meshes together, and that's the most important thing that we got to get mastered. And that comes from everybody being on the same page and understanding exactly what we're trying to get accomplished.
There were a couple times last year where you guys salted away the win, right, with the running game, and Rashad maybe could have scored a touchdown too. The Carolina game here comes to mind, and ended up costing him really 1,000 yards a season because of that football IQ and knowing to be a good teammate and to go down and run the clock out. Can you just speak to his mental makeup and the football IQ that he has?
No, he's a smart young man football-wise. He does understand what we're trying to do in the offensive scheme and things. You said a key thing about, trying to get 1,000. You got the whole season to get 1,000. You can't come down to the last 5 plays. I think he got better as the season went along as a runner. He's a natural route runner coming out of the backfield. Like I explained to all of them, not just him in the room. I think every single one of the guys have got to be a lot more disciplined in their techniques and their fundamentals. And once you master that, then the actual art of the running back position becomes a lot easier. You can't try to just do it on your own. It never happens that way. it's a team sport, so the line, tight ends, backs, quarterbacks, receivers all got to work together. You know, we all have a part in that as far as the running game having success.
And Sean Tucker kind of had almost a redshirt year last year playing most end teams. Are there areas where you've seen growth, development from him since his rookie year?
Yeah, Sean was interesting because, you know, obviously he didn't have an opportunity to do any of this offseason, then showed up at training camp and then showed a lot of promise early. And then it's like week 3 or 4, it's like he hit a lull. But then obviously the season got going and then we kind of got in a rhythm and Chase came back and then it kind of became more of a 2-back rotation instead of 3. So kind of stuck with that for the remainder of the season. But Sean's been doing a good job since he's been back this year. And, I mean, looks kind of like he was last year at training camp. So I'm excited to see what he has to do.
Was it more pass blocking that kind of he struggled with?
Honestly, it wasn't pass blocking. It was just being disciplined in his footwork and his course. And then, obviously, the backs and the line have to be on the same page when it comes to the run game. And sometimes the decision-making's got to be correct in order for us to have success.
Skip, it is a young running back room, but Chase Edmonds kind of brings that veteran presence. What can you say about what he brings to the room?
No, Chase is a very solid veteran, crafty guy, a kid that doesn't necessarily need a lot of repetition as far as practice is concerned to go in a game and be able to function and do what you want him to do. That lends to give Rashad and Sean and some other guys a little bit more reps in practice to get their, their skills level up to where it needs to be. But it's always good to have a guy like that in your room because when things kind of get into a funk, then you have somebody that can come in and know exactly what to do, but doesn't necessarily have to have a lot of practice to do it.
Is there more competition in this room this year?
Whole lot. I think competition is a great thing. I mean, I've always felt that. I mean, for the most part of my career coaching, I've always utilized more than one back, and I never see it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's all the backs. Been fortunate to have a couple backups be Pro Bowl players ahead of the starter. So, I mean, it's not necessarily – starter means, in my mind, starter is the guy that takes the first play of the game. That's it. And then you play guys as needed. But you got to have success when you're in there. And, I mean, that's what you have to do. And the more you have success, the more I'll leave you in there. And it doesn't matter whether you're a 5-year guy, rookie, second-year guy. The best guy to help us win, to do the best job is going to play. And I think Bucky was drafted to come in here and help this football team. So, I mean, obviously he's going to have an opportunity to showcase what he can do. I think it's going to create a lot of competition within the room, which is a good thing for everybody. I mean, you compete, you showcase what you're capable of doing, relax and do your job, and usually guys, cream comes to the top.
You mentioned, you've had guys who have been Pro Bowlers who weren't necessarily starters. I talked to Coach Laughlin, who coached Tony Pollard, and he said he saw a lot of similarities between their game with like Tony Pollard and Kenneth Gainwell. Do you see that in Bucky's game? Do you see that he can be that type of guy at this level?
I think he can. Tony was that way. Tony was a guy that was not a guy you're going to try to slam it with. I think he's a guy that needs complement with someone else, utilizing multiple guys to wear down a defense, unlike the old days where we utilized one guy and just pounded. I think, you got to have a fresh back in the game at all times, and you put a little bit more pressure on the defense. And if we have guys that have similar traits that are capable of playing in the run game, playing in the passing game, I think it's going to present a little bit more of a problem to the defense.
What do you make of Bucky's testing with the 40 time?
Well, there's a 40 time and then there's football game speed. Mm-hmm. I think when you watch him play, I think he's quick enough to get away from problems and issues, has ability to accelerate the crease and get through to the second, third level. So I think that's the most important thing. Some of the greatest running backs aren't the fastest. I mean, I know Emmett wasn't 4.4, 4.3. I don't think Barry was a 4.3 guy. I've coached some 4.3 guys, but those guys are pretty good runners, 4.5. DeMarco Murray wasn't a 4.3 guy. Marion Barber wasn't 4.3. Todd Gurley was about 4.3 before he got hurt, though.
When you look at this run, the one thing that stands out is you don't have that big bruiser. And one thing this team struggled with is those short yardage situations, the 3rd and short, the 4th and short. Who on this team needs to step up and take over that role? Do you have someone on this team that can take over this role currently on the roster?
Who's our biggest guy?
Peete.
No, running back. Running back.
Hey, he was in high school.
Running back.
He's played.
Now, I've always looked at short yardage goal line like one other sport. It's like boxing. It's one-on-one matchups. They got to block that guy. There's going to be one guy left for me as the back. I got to run through him to get one or get to the goal line. And that has to happen.
Peete does have some pretty impressive high school running back too.
Yeah, but Vita, I would love to put Vita back there and be a lead blocker, but I mean, it's a little bit different when you're carrying it. Sometimes you carry it, you get hit, and you're not used to getting hit holding the football. So, I mean, we have to get a little practice with him.
Is that something you guys are thinking about, though?
What's that?
Having Peete back there?
No, we haven't even had a conversation about it. You guys just brought that up.
Trying to get him through a full season on the other side of the ball, I'm sure.
Thanks, Coach.
Is that good? You good?
Thanks very much.